Nigeria's diverse and vast possession of relevant natural resources, notably in the abundance of mineral resources, is a fact economists, geologists, historians, and researchers have proven to be true over the years. Well, however, the country's capacity to lure investors and business investments in the mining industry has over the years remained largely untapped and subject to structural and policy impediments, fueled by unlawful mining activities which have led to a large extent, led to, well, negative effects, of course, on that sector. According to the Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, the country loses about $9 billion annually due to illegal mining and smuggling of gold. Hence the need for quick passage of the proposed laws, which are already on board, to ensure an effective regulatory framework to monitor activities of both local and foreign investors in the mining space. Well, joining me to give more insight into this is live in the studio. Here's the General Secretary of the Civil Explosive Dealers Association of Nigeria, Engineer Babs Alatise. It's good to have you in the studio. Good afternoon, sir.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. Let me start this way. First, there's this news that is really alarming to me, and I would like us to talk about it. That's more than $9 billion lost to illegal miners. And I know this is just like, it could be approximately. A lot of money is being lost. So we need to look at that space. But first, there was a 2-day public hearing put together by the Senate committee. And I think about 4 bills were put forward. The Mineral Development Corporation Establishment Bill, Solid Mineral Processing Areas. Let us give us an insight into what this means and how did it go?
Okay, first of all, thanks for having us. These are very exciting times in the mining space. I've been in the mining industry for between maybe 2 decades, and this is the first time I'm seeing the legislative, the executive, and the private sector coming together to do something. So kudos to the 9th Assembly. So first of all, the Committee on Solid Mineral and Mines, Steel, Metallurgy had a 2-day public hearing, and it was to talk about 4 bills. Now, the first one, which is very exciting, and I feel it will be a paradigm shift in the mining industry, which is a bill for the act to establish the Nigerian Mineral Development Corporation. Now, this is to see to invest and catalyze the investment in the mining sector and to promote and support mining sector growth and related matters. SB 505, sponsored by Senator Tanko Almakura, former Governor of Nasarawa State, representing Nasarawa South. There was also a bill for the act to repeal the Explosives Act of 1964 and the Explosives Act of 2021 to regulate the manufacture, storage, use, possession, distribution, purchase, sale, transportation, importation, and exportation of explosives and related matters. Also sponsored by Senator Tanko Almakura. There were 2 other bills, the Institute for Bitumen Management and also the Solid Mineral Producing Areas Development Commission as well. And the public hearing was successful. The public was very much, accepting what's about to happen. And if I'm not a legal expert, but if my analysis is right, it will go to the lower house for concurrence, and then they'll put it together and send it to the president. So
let's now look at the positives of this. When I hear Nigerian Mining Development Corporation, it makes me look like what is happening with Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. Yes. Are we having a body that supervises all activities in the mining industry, or what's going to be streamlined so that we don't have this issue of, we've had issues with mining, states, federal, everybody holding positions. Are we going to have a centralized body that controls all activities?
Okay, so let me start with what we already know, which is NNPC.
Yes.
Okay, NNPC is the profit-making arm of, the DPR.
Yeah.
So what this corporation would be, it would almost replicate what the Nigerian Mining Corporation of yesteryears did in the past. So the Ministry of Mines and Steel, which is in charge of policy, direction, this will be in charge of how to bring capital, much needed forex into the Nigerian mining space. So it will be the bridge between the local, the state governments, and the federal government. Now, it will also be, it's a state-owned enterprise. 70% will belong to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and 30% will belong to the private sector. Now, I think it's about 5 billion naira is what will be used as sovereign guarantee to make sure this works. And before you know it, the things that bedeviled mining in the past, which was, for instance, there's the confusion of the Land Use Act.
That's it. Yeah. I remember that.
Now, the Land Use Act says the state has all the authority. Meanwhile, minerals are on the exclusive list. Now, there's the argument that the minerals are underneath the ground, so the state doesn't have anything, but meanwhile, the state owns the land. So this will obviously bring a bridge in between the state, the local government, and the state-owned enterprise. Now, for instance, there are multiple, the same way NNPC partners with Shell, Chevron, Total, Elf, and the rest of them, this entity would partner with owners of assets. They would also look to develop and, open up the sector. So it is a very welcome thing, because if you keep doing the same thing and there's no change, then there's a problem. So this is a very bold effort by Senator Tanko Al-Makura, and I see it bringing the much needed diversity in the economy.
Let's look at, before I go to this $9 billion dollar loss, all of that, looking at the Institute of Bitumen Management Establishment Bill.
Yes.
Are we looking at taking advantage of bitumen, the level of reserves that we have?
Oh,
because
yes,
I know we are not doing that at the moment.
Now, Nigeria has the second largest bitumen reserve.
Honestly.
Now, there's something called the bitumen block, which covers Ogun, Ondo, Oyo. In fact, Nigeria is blessed beyond our wildest imagination. So what this bill is meant to do, it is to provide courses for instruction, training, and research in bitumen technology, and to provide technicians with the right skill set to be able to harness this industry, the bitumen industry. Now, we all know bitumen is just like crude oil, just like it's a solid form of crude oil, and all we need is some light at the end of the tunnel. We've been importing asphalt and bitumen into the country. Meanwhile, we're sitting on one of the biggest reserves in the world. And obviously, the bitumen we're bringing into the country will take dollars from our precious reserves.
Sure.
So if we have a situation where we have an institute that can teach technicians how to use these things, how to better ourselves, it is a very welcome idea.
Now, when we talk about this, the mining space, something also comes to my mind, the issue of investors, because many times we say most of these businesses cannot be run by domestic guys, or that's local guys alone.
Yes.
So we definitely need investments. Now, what are the necessities, or what do we need to kickstart so that we can be that attractive? I'm sorry, the little knowledge that I have, a lot of illegal mining continues.
Yes.
Can't we formalize some of these things? It's so close, kind of close to the oil and gas industry.
So one of the objectives of the Nigerian Mineral Development Corporation is to bring mining assets to DFS level. DFS means definitive feasibility study level. Now, once you've done that, there's some level of exploration has gone in. So there's data, geophysical, geochemical, geological data that the investors can use to figure out if the project is sustainable, if it's profitable. All right. So until Nigeria gets its act together, which is what they're trying to do through the NMDC. Now, once we have better data, that is what an investor can listen to. That's what he can read. But he's not going to read all these artisanal miners in the jungle with bits and pieces of gold.
True. Because you need to know the quantity of
the mineralization,
like proven reserves.
Yes.
So that if it is commercially viable before you can actually invest in it, right?
Yes.
Now let's now look at contribution to GDP. It's still 0.6% for Q1 of 2021. Now, what must be done to achieve this 5% target? To me, it looks like a tall order for the year 2025. It's been set by the ministry. Yes. Are we on the right track? Okay,
first of all, 7 strategic minerals have been picked. Gold being the major one.
Yeah.
Now, tantalite and some other ones being there. I'll give you a typical example. What is the current price of crude oil? I think it's pushing about $81.
80, yeah.
Yes.
80,
now, a kilo of tantalite is about last time I checked, it was $186.50, and that's a kilo. And Nigeria is blessed with one of the largest reserves. So that's enough mathematics. There's one of the flagship projects of the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development, which is the Segolola project. being managed by Thor Explorations. I mean, we're talking about 50,000 ounces of gold every year from that company, and it's the biggest in West Africa already. You know, and there are some reports I've read that will literally tell you that Ghana, which is the Gold Coast, has about 25% of what we have. In Ghana, you have to go kilometers into the ground to get their gold. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, we have alluvial gold. Alluvial gold means gold that is in the sand. All you have to do is wash and separate. We haven't even gotten to the core ore body, which is kilometers into the ground. We're just enjoying what we are seeing with the naked eyes. Exactly. And that is why this $9 billion it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon, because at the moment I don't want to say it's easy to mine gold, but because the Ministry of Mines and Steel lacks capacity, I would say the budgetary allocations to the ministry is minuscule compared to what it can actually do for the economy. So I'll give you an example. A state where I come from, Ogun State, for instance. Ogun State can literally be, Ogun State is one of the largest mining contributors to the GDP states. Ogun State is almost the size of a country like Ghana. Meanwhile, there are only 4 or 5 ministry officials, they're called federal mines officers, that manage that state. It's not possible physically. Even if you're a spirit, it's not possible. So we need capacity, we need technology, we need a situation that you can empower these individuals that are running helter-skelter, trying to cover the length and breadth of a state. Now, even if you can't do it physically, there's technology, there's drones, there's all sorts of ways to, there's structural geology, how you can, quantify what has been taken out of the ground. So until the ministry is supported with the right funds and capacity, before things can happen.
Let me ask this question. It could be a little bit sounds elementary, but just I know Nigerians would like to understand this. When we talk about illegal crude oil refiners that we see on the creeks and all of that, many say, why can't we build small refineries, empower these people and let them, maybe get better with what they do? Would that also work with the mining space? Like we see all of this, illegal miners. Can anything like formalizing them and letting them know that this is how to play the game?
Of course.
Can that work?
So, for instance, now 90 to 95% of the mining done in Nigeria is by artisanal miners. So the government is trying to formalize this group of guys. Now, if you don't formalize them, it will only be the Achilles heel in whatever what we're trying to do. So yes, if you can train them, give them capacity, give them technology, and see how you can, get them to understand the safer ways of doing this mining. Because one of the big pains from the artisanal miners is the crude, ancient way they're using, which is the chemicals, the mercury that they use to wash and separate the ores, which obviously goes into the water supply, which doesn't help anybody. For instance, there's something called a Gemini table, a shaking table, and that would easily replace your mercury at a cost. So like I said, it's information, training, it's technology. There's so many things that need to be introduced to these chaps. And in any case, it will make their lives better and safer. And they would also be able to contribute via royalties to the government. So once you've trained them, you've captured them, you've taken their biometrics, and you send them back into the field, you have a form of monitoring, and you have a form of collection. Now, also, for instance, if any Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to be in the mining industry and buy gold, you go to the ministry and you get something called a mineral buying center license. Government will give you a license where you can have your own little lab and little collection, and you can be buying from these individuals and making the place a safer place. So it's all about education, it's all about orientation. We need to let the general public know that there are crazy opportunities in mining. And we should, everybody is looking for employment. This is a huge way to employ the restless youths. It is, in fact, you can't measure it.
I know. Now let's now look at other challenges. I know you've talked about technology now. We talked about land use and I think all of that before now, because I've been able opportunity to speak to someone and said this land use issue made them not support a business at the time because they didn't get the assent of the governor and they wanted to, sign up the deal at that time. But whether that's, by the way, what more challenges, what more kind of synergies, what kind of conversations do you think we should be having so that we'll prepare ourselves for all of these guys that want to come in and tap
Fantastic, and thank you for that question. Now, you mentioned earlier loss of $9 billion annually.
Honestly, Nati came up with this.
Yes.
So now, I'm worried about
So now, how do these golds leave the country? Through the port, through the seaport, through the airport, land borders, and quote unquote private jets, like the Minister of State said. So look, if we can train the Nigerian Customs Service, give them capacity, important word, capacity. Let them be able to understand, identify what typical ores look like. I'll give you an example. You know how people with all sorts of degrees, and like somebody in mechanical engineering can end up in banking sector. So we have a lot of science-oriented people, graduates, I'm sure, that are in the Nigerian Customs Service. Why can't we pull the science graduates out of them and work with the Ministry of Mines and Steel, train them, empower them with XRF scanners? These are handheld devices that will literally scan whatever is in front of you and to give you an analysis, not accurate, but at least 99% close to what is in front of you, instead of all this capital flights. Then another side is, like the Minister of State said that a lot of private jet owners are using their jets to smuggle gold out of the country. It still comes back to customs. So we need customs to rise to the occasion. Let them send their boys for training. Let them understand the economic sabotage that's going on with this $9 billion. Imagine how, and the funny thing, the $9 billion is not even refined. It's the same way we carry crude oil out and we bring in petrol, diesel, aviation fuel, and all the likes. The moment you can even refine it within Nigeria, there are so many other extra value additions that we also make. So it's a win-win situation. We just want a situation that customs can understand the severity of what's really going on.
They really need to understand this if we really want to move from where we are to where we should be. I must thank you. It's been really interesting talking to you and understanding all of this. We hope that this becomes law anytime soon. What are you thinking?
Well, we really hope so. Like I said, it's the first time the executive and the legislative
working together. There's a handshake.
So, it's a really good handshake, and I'm really impressed. Some people say this is a rubber stamp Senate, but I think they're reading.
Wow.
They're simply reading.
I must thank you so much, Engineer Alatise. Thank you so much, General Secretary, Civil Explosive Dealers Association of Nigeria. We hope to always bring you in anytime we have updates in this sector, because we need it to be more productive to Nigerian GDP one way or the other. Thank you again for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having us. Always a pleasure.